Okay, kids, this came in the shipment today. We got some fragile stickers on it. This side up, which was not respected by the delivery folks. A couple more fragile stickers, little hole poked in the box. The box is a little squished, a little bit. Yep. Parcel services are mean to your stuff. Let's see how we did. Okay, so our box is open and it looks like our shipper here has some practice, or at least a good reference on this amp shipping. We have a lot of, I don't know if this whole carcass, this styrofoam carcass looks like it was kind of manufactured out of an ice chest, which isn't bad. Anything you can do to, especially for the corners, and just to keep this thing from whacking against the side of the box and kind of suspending it in there is a good thing. And we have, it's in a bag. Let's see, I don't know if that's a heavy enough bag that I should pull on the bag to lift. Let's see if we can find a handle or something. Not on that side. Not on that side. There's a handle. Oh yeah. An Earth. This is an Earth Traveler. It's the design and layout. I mean, if you look at the control panel, it's very PV inspired. A lot of the Earth amps were PV inspired, and some of them were custom inspired. Silvery knobs rather than the PV-esque knobs, but the coolest thing is on the other side. Let's check that out. There, people, I went and got a bright light so you can see it, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to see it. That speaker is an Alnico Magnet Jensen. Very interesting. The tag up here is Earth Sound Research by ISC Audio. I don't recall our other Earth amp saying ISC Audio on it. Looks like it's 45 watts RMS, 8 ohm speaker, according to the tag there by the speaker jack. Product of Instrument Systems Audio. On Smith Street in New York. Farmingdale, New York. I knew Earth was New York before. And we've got our on-off-on paddle switch there. Let's see if this has a 3-wire cord or not. It does have a reverb tank bolted to the bottom of the chassis. I heard something jingling around, and I was concerned that the parcel had done something bad, but it looks like that was not the case. We do have a 3-prong cord. So from what I understand, this amp works in the general sense, but it is here for a cleanup, like internally clean the pod switches, give it a check over, and it is going to be recapped for longevity. This amplifier would be probably an early to mid 70s, so that would put it at about 45 years old or more, 45 to 50 years old. So it's if this is going to be a daily player or live another 50 years, it is due to have the caps changed. We're also going to just do a nice physical cleanup on it. It looks like the cabinet is the particle type material, very much like a PV. I know our Earth tube amp that we did was all plywood. Alright, cool. Let's plug this in and see what happens. Okay, so we have it up on the stand here, and the controls are as follows. Volume, which is probably preamp volume, treble, mid-range, treble, mid-range, bass, reverb, and master volume. Inputs 1 and 2, probably different impedance. I'm going to guess this was Earth's answer to, say, a PV Bandit. So let's turn it on and see if it goes kaboom. Okay, it just went poof like a typical solid state amp does when you turn it on. So normal. Let's bring our master volume up a little bit. Okay, she's a little crispy. And she's a little hummy. Got a little bit of a hum. Not too bad. It's a little crispy. Do I hear any reverb? Yes, I do. So the reverb works with a little bit of tapping, so that's going to be, at least the pickup side of it works. And our gain works here. A little noisy, knob feels a little loose. So far, nothing we can't deal with. It's definitely got a little bit of 120 cycle hum, which would be tuckered filter caps most likely. Let's try an input here. All right. That's kind of short for a reverb compared to what we had, the really long tank that we had in the other Earth. That's actually, I actually like how big that reverb sounds, and actually the short delay is pretty cool. Alright, so cool. As the customer told me before shipping it to me, it generally works. I agree, it generally works. I hear a little bit of 120 hertz hum. We got, you know, some pots and switches that are a little loose, probably just tightening things up. But general maintenance should make this good to go. Cool. So far, so good. Okay, so we pulled the chassis of our Earth amp here, and it seems to me that this circuit board is essentially entirely held in place by the pots. I mean, they're heavy-duty reinforced pots, but if that's all that's holding them in there, that's something. Let's take the knobs off. You're going to need a 1/16 inch hex or Allen or whatever you want to call it. But this is a US made amp, so it's going to have the SAE Imperial, whatever you want to call them, the knot metrics. There's some of the jokers call it, you know, it's science. So yeah, so we'll get those off and then we'll see if the board pulls. Okay, so yeah, these are, I'm fairly certain, CTS potentiometers, and let's actually see if we can get a code off of one of them here. Let's see. 137 7536 7536 1975 maybe? Sounds about right. That's part number, and then we got, let's see, here's a different model. Let's see, 137 manufacturer code 7547 19-75, whatever. Yeah, I'm going with 1975 for this one. It looks like somebody may have gotten, after the original filter cap, but I'm really not sure. Somebody drew a plus and a minus here, but it doesn't seem to correlate to the filter cap. This just doesn't, something doesn't look right. I don't know. Nah. Seems okay. There's our bottom side of our circuit board. I can't tell if those are original or not. I'm not sure what this jump-a-majig is, and this lovely tar glue. I mean, the tar glue has been there a while. I don't know what to make of it. And then there's a bridge here between something and something else. I don't know. Let's see. Let's look at that filter cap for kicks and giggles. So that's the minus for it. Is that the minus? Hold on. Some of these parts don't make a hell of a lot of sense. Okay, so that's the minus, and then the plus would probably be here or there, one of those two, probably there. Seems to have the same old rosin as everything else, so could be an original solder job. Anyway, we're gonna deal with all of these, and then these are coming in the mail. We'll test those just for fun and see what they are, but even if those are like 2000s, that was nightmare year for capacitors anyway. But yeah, this is, you know, 70s era. It's probably time for a recap just for safety. And I'm going to just take a high-tech piece of gear here called a pencil, and I'm just going to put a little dot on the board where the positives go on these capacitors, so once I pull them out I don't forget, just in case. Exciting stuff, and then we'll just kind of go across here. If you ever use one of these, don't ever squeeze the bulb when you're above the board, and always squeeze the bulb before you bring it over to the board. And we're not getting a good melt. It is on, isn't it? Yeah, it's on. So if you're not getting a good melt, it's usually because you're not getting good heat transfer, and if you're not getting good heat transfer, it's because your tip is either grubby or it's just not enough contact area. So we'll put that desoldering iron on there, a little bit of solder on it, and then we'll get a good melt. A little wiggle. There we go. And the other side, I believe, goes to here. I'm trying to not put my big head in the way. But yeah, I'm pretty sure we got a good, we got that one loose on both ends here. The holes in this board are not tremendously big. Yeah, we're good. And we can pluck this puppy out of there. This is 100 microfarad, 25 volts. And I have a replacement which is also 100 microfarad at 35 volts. Going a little bit heavier in voltage, a little bit different dimension, but that'll work just fine. I'm just curious as to how out of spec this is. Okay, so this one is not terrible at this point. It's supposed to be 100 microfarad. It's showing 136.8. It's usually the smaller ones that just start to climb and climb and climb. That would be out of tolerance because this is supposed to be 20% tolerance, so that would be a maximum of 120. ESR doesn't look too bad, so not terrible, but beginning to wear. So we'll try a new one and see how that looks, just for fun. And on our little tester, our new one here comes at 96.09. Now, these are not obviously the definitive, but we're within, I believe on capacitors you're allowed to be 10% under or 20% over, and they're considered within specification. So, hooray. Solder this in. Takes care of that one. On to the next ones. Maybe we should play with these 2.2s up here. Those interest me. I've already got both of them marked. Let's figure out where they go. I think it's obvious because of their wider spacing. It does go up here. Always double and triple check your work, kids. Don't make the silly. That one didn't melt. Come on, melt. Come on, melt. That one just doesn't want to melt. Probably because that's a big pad. That one melted just fine. We either need to leave that on for a little bit longer or maybe add just a touch. A better heat transfer. There we go. Much more better. Now those two should come right out. We hope. Let's see. There's one half. And the other half. There we go. And I'll get the other one here. And that one side is stubborn. Let's see about this side. It's tricky to get there behind that pot. I might need a different pair of pliers. Oh, no, there we go. Okay. Let's see how out of specification our 2.2s are. Remember, tolerance is plus 20 minus 10. Okay, that one shows up as 3283 nanofarads, so it's supposed to be 2.2 and it's essentially 3.3, so that is that's a lot out of tolerance. That's like 50% out of tolerance. Yep. And should we even bother with the other one? We know these are going to all be out of tolerance. It doesn't mean they're shorted, it doesn't mean they don't work, it doesn't mean the amp isn't going to work, but what happens is, you know, as they creep up in value, the amp stops performing optimally. And that's what we're looking for. We're trying to be optimal. Let's see how that one does. That one is supposed to be 2.2 and it is 4.15 basically. So that's a double almost. Yep. So 2 more down the drain. Let's get our, again, everybody's going to sit there and tell me my Shanghai Special Tester is not the definitive whatever of whatever in this, and I'm sure it's probably not, but it gives you a general idea, and the general idea is way out of tolerance. I mean, if I got a little out of spec, I would be like, meh, but this is enough that it makes sense to do the job. So let's check a new 2.2, and then at this point I think we're just going to jump cut to the rest of these, because I don't think you want to follow this adventure for an hour. This should be a 2.250 volt, just like what came out of there, except this one's out of the package fresh. Yep, 2.1, so that's tolerance. We're fine. So, yep, keep going. I like this Kester solder. I wish the spool wasn't a whole dang pound, though. I feel like taking my old little Radio Shack spool and rewinding it with some of this, so I just have a smaller spool. Okay, well, not to be mean to everybody out there in YouTube land, but your camera is in my way, and I'm shaking like a charismatic because I just don't have enough, you know, space. But we got some good-looking solder joints there. Those look really gorgeous. Of course, they look gorgeous. I just did them. Give it a little snip and clip. This Kester solder I like a lot. It's got just good wetting action. It's just easy to work with. It's standard 60-40 generic electronic solder, just like we've been using since the beginning of time. So, yay. Alright, see you when we're way farther along. Okay, so from here, that way, all new caps. I come to this. These are not original. This does not belong here. Some of these things are not like the other. Captain, this black tarry crap doesn't belong here. These Nichicons don't belong here. They have been replaced. Probably the original ones were going bad, but this is, even if these capacitors are 100% healthy, this is not cool. This should have had an axial capacitor. I can see the holes here for the axial capacitors. And it looks like Buddy Boy just like drilled another hole or extended a lead or did whatever possible and then put black goo all over everything. That makes me unhappy, and I'm gonna fix that. Okay, so I picked as much of this black stuff off of here as I can. Doing that to make a radial capacitor fit just isn't really cool. It looks like Buddy made a pinhole in the board because there's a trace that comes down here, so that electrically that would make sense. Yeah. So this is not cool, considering that 2200 microfarad capacitors are available in axial. Of course, big ding ding me went through quickly, you know, figured out what we had and threw radials on the parts list. Axials are a smidge more expensive, but it's only going to be a couple bucks and I'll eat it. I don't care. I'd rather do this right and have it look right. But I don't have any magic tricks for getting this black stuff off of here. Yeah, other than try to scrape it. I've got a hold of it with the, you know, with the pliers. I've got these really cool angle pliers, and I can like grab a chunk of it and like tear it off, kinda. But I mean, that stuff is like really stuck. So, thanks, whatever. If this was Terry at D-Lab, he would bring out the little cobbler guy, you know, and do all that junk. I'm not much into characters, but we're going to get some axials, and we're going to put this back so it's more factory appropriate. But I want to pull the schematic. I want to make sure that this was supposed to have 2200 or, you know, 2100 or 2000 or something like that. You know, what was this value originally? Let me see if I can even find a schematic for this. Okay, so it's a couple of days later, and my order of all the caps I intended to use in this are here. Of course, it turned out by fluke that the ones that I already, the other ones that I needed, I used everything I had in my stash on it, but I had, you know, all the stuff for downline with the exception of the larger filter caps. And despite the fact that those radials that were in there were not totally bad, they looked totally stupid, and you know, that was just not cool. Just an electrical hazard, whatever. So here's the new ones. Gotta get them out of the package. And since there's a positive rail and a negative rail, one of these caps goes in what would visually appear to be backwards. This one is going to go that way with the positive end going that way, and the other one will go the other way with the positive facing that way. At this point, I'm putting the face back on. The circuit board achieves chassis ground through the potentiometers, which is kind of a Fender thing. It's not wrong, but when we took this apart to pull the board, these really weren't that tight. You don't want them like 4,000-pound gorilla tight, but they definitely need to be tight. And then for your input jacks, there is a little cog or toothed washer there that goes in behind those. So you put the tooth washer on first, and then your flat washer and the nut. So there's tooth washer, flat washer, and nut. And let me guess, this is probably out of camera. No, it seems like it's in there. Alright. The other thing that just mildly annoys me is the power switch seems a little off kilter, so I'm going to straighten that up, and then we should be able to test. Okay, before we kick the fires on here, I wanted you to see this. This is the Reverb Tank. Looks similar to the ones that ship from Peavey. OC Electronics Inc. folded line reverberation device. I love this. Manufactured by beautiful girls at Milton, Wisconsin, under controlled atmospheric conditions. Gotta love it. But that was the one reverb company. I've seen those reverbs in other machines before. I just think that's funny. So let me plug my sacrificial 8-ohm speaker in, and we'll make sure that it doesn't blow up. Okay, so sacrificial speaker's plugged in. Put something in the input. Turn the volume down. Turn the master volume down. And see if anything spectacular happens when we flip the power. The light comes on. Kind of what I expected. I didn't hear it thump my speaker though. Nothing feels hot. Master volume up a little bit. Oh yeah. So let me hear. Do I hear any noise in this master volume? Not really. That's just because I got an open cord that's in a ton of gain. I got the master volume all the way up, and I'm not hearing the kind of hum. And before, when I flipped the switch, I think when I first got this in, turning it on thumped the speaker more so than it is now. it, you know, going chunk when you turn them on is kind of normal for a solid state amp, especially if the volume's up. If the volume's at 0, does it chunk? No. Okay, that explains it. So seems fine to me. Let's check that. Holy cow, this thing's loud. Too much. Do I have reverb? I do. So all functions go. I'm going to do a little bit of cleaning, clean the cabinet up, put her back together, and it's a victory. By the way, because I forgot to mention it, I know this does have a Jensen Alnico speaker in it, which is really cool. That is a replacement aftermarket speaker. The original probably would have been a chrome-faced Eminence, kind of like what we saw in our Earth G2000 we did a month ago. Forgot to mention that. But I got the power switch straightened. I'm happy with that. I got all of this stuff tight. I'm happy with that. This one is crooked. I need to straighten that. And then I'm going to clean and maybe straighten that little bulge out there. You know, your routine stuff. Okay, so our recap on the Earth Traveler is complete. If you notice it on that corner of the amp, there's a little clamp sticking over there. The cleat that the back door screws to, the lower bow to the back door, that cleat was splitting, so I put some glue in there and clamped it, but for the sake of expedience, everything else is done. The amp's been cleaned up, the recap is done. The 120 hertz kind of hum that we had before is diminished, and I think we're good. And somebody wants to talk to me on the phone. Okay, so I've got a modern Gibson guitar that features both single coil and humbucking pickups. So we'll put them in single coil mode, and I've got the EQ on here flat. That is the neck pickup. Bridge pickup in single coil. Both of them together as singles. Do the neck pickup in humbucker. And we'll do the bridge in humbucker. Put the reverb on here. About half sounds good. I like this reverb a lot. Enough of that fidgeting around. And just for fun, solid state amps, these usually, you know, I look at them as a clean platform, but if we turn the master down low and turn the volume up, we should get some kind of distortion. We'll see if it's any good. We'll go up to, say, 8 out of 10, and oh man, this is one loud little monkey. Still pretty loud. So we're next to off on the master volume and about 8 on the primary volume gain. So yeah, that seems to work just fine. Not bad, you know. Again, I look at most of these solid states as a clean platform, but everything's working good, and that's what counts. And I really do like that reverb playing clean, so let's just enjoy that. It just makes you want to, that's like surfing reverb, isn't it? Anyway, I don't have time to screw around. I got to get back to fixing other things, but for the sake of the video, I wanted to get it done before we have the back door back on, but we will as soon as the glue dries. Hooray for everything. Earth Traveler from about 1975. Solid state, 45 watts. Somebody upgraded it with a Jensen Alnico speaker, and I think it sounds dynamite. If you're looking for a clean platform, you know, very good amp. Loud, clean, good, you know. Go for it. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.